It's that the pigs that are in these barns are lean.
They're lean.
They're too lean.
They're too lean because we for a while as the pork industry we try to be the next lean meat.
That was
it's
the
very
dumbest.
healthy though. I mean, pork loins is healthy as a chicken breast.
Yeah. It is healthy.
It is.
I won't lie. I do switch it up. I mean, I eat chicken a lot, but I also eat some pork loin occasionally for some lean protein. But
Well, the great denominator in the whole thing is, so back, I remember when the money maker from pork was pork loin. Today, it is the least profitable product by far. What's the most profitable? Pork butt and bacon. That's it.
because why?
Because that's where the flavor's at.
Tasty.
And all of this crap about people, consumers, our budget, whatever.
Not when it comes to pork.
They will buy what tastes good.
Yeah.
Look at the beef market. Okay, the beef market hasn't grown that much, but it hasn't shrunk either. And people
Eat a steak.
if they're going to pay the money, they're going to pay the money. Well, you have it's two worlds. It's ground beef and it's steak, and there's not much in between.
Yeah.
But that steak side, they don't care what it costs. If they have a steak, if they're going to have a steak, they're going to have a steak. They don't care.
Well, let's look at the obesity rate in the United States. All right, let's just look at that a second and say, how many people have self-control?
None.
Of going to the store and saying, I'm going to eat a healthy little chicken.
Yep.
Right.
No. If we had self-control, we wouldn't be one of the most obese countries.
Well, they will tell themselves. Then they'll take said chicken. They'll chop it up. They'll put it on a salad with an egg, bacon, French and ranch, and some cute croutons.
It won't go on a salad.
And then they'll be like, I'm eating healthy.
Will go.
Guilty. Oh, no, it's breaded chicken.
Yes.
No, what I was about to say is, you know what you do? You put it in flour, you put it in breadcrumbs, you throw it in the air fryer.
And you hope that it tastes as good as Chick-fil-A, even though it won't.
Oh, no.
You just won't.
Which now there's a debate. I mean, the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Have you had that?
Nope.
It ain't good.
It's not.
Even good. It's
It's
not
not.
even.
All of the food we eat and much of the clothing we wear comes from plants and animals that are raised on farms. Farms are different in type, in size, and even in name.
Welcome to Barn Talk, Garage Episode Edition, where the knowledge is free, but you get what you pay for. We're deep into the holiday season. Christmas is upon us, and we have a real special gift for you guys today. We're going to discuss some of our favorite subjects: pigs, tech, social media, and the power of mixing them all together for the betterment for the better good. We have a man that's doing just that. But first, we want you guys to pay the fee. If you guys get anything from the show, get any value from the show at all, share it out with your friends, share it out with your family, share it out with your coworkers. That's kind of the ticket to admission to watching or listening to the show, and it helps us grow. So we really appreciate all the guys and gals out there that have been doing that.
You want me to talk about the markets?
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about the markets.
Okay, I'm going to do that. I'll give you the market update. But first, this guest has raised the bar, so I want everybody to know that now then this is expectations. So he not only showed up, but he brought a bottle of Blanton's. So we're having a snoot of whiskey this morning. So that's pretty good. So no pressure, but a little bit. Whatever you want to bring along is fine. I appreciate that. And then the other thing, I've got a little bit of a bone to pick. So the Barn Talk guys. I got this
Barn Tools.
Yeah, well, Barn Tools, but Barn Talk is our alarm.
Yeah.
So the Barn Tools guy, they sent us this flyer, and apparently, I must not make the cut.
No,
so Sawyer must be the pretty one.
That's right.
And now I've got a complex. I guess I'm going to have to go get a new hairdo because I didn't make the cut. But anyway, it is pretty cool. I was glad to get that, and we love working with those guys. Shout out to Barn Tools. But I think that they could have probably found a more handsome model. Just saying.
I think it's great the way it is.
Wisdom is sexy.
Looks pays. Looks is in Hollywood, so there you go.
Okay, so the markets as of the last time I checked them, courtesy of Cat's Grain in Washington, Iowa, corn was $5.89, and the local bid, I think you can find a bid that's actually a little bit better than that. I I think at least one local feeder had a 590 bid. Beans 1268, 1241 at the river, 1277 at Quincy, and hogs are $72. And this is something we're going to get in today because the hog business has all kinds of problems, most of them labor related. I don't think our problems are really demand related, but we've got issues with production, transportation, and processing. So it's tough sledding right now if you're the integrator. Cattle 136. That number just stays the same, but the price of corn keeps going up, so it's probably not quite as good as it used to be. Bitcoin's $50,000, give or take. I don't know what it's doing. It just can't seem to get over the hump.
We need to call our good friend Grant Hilbert and ask him what he thinks.
Yeah, see, maybe they're mining too much, flooding the market. I don't know.
He's just getting filthy rich right now.
Yeah, that could be. Ethereum's 4,200. So Ethereum's actually hanging in there really good. They're pretty close to their all-time high, I think. And as the metaverse keeps cranking out, I think you're going to see Ethereum be pretty strong because a lot of these exchanges and a lot of these projects are all running on the Ethereum blockchain. And I threw Cardano in there just because I feel sorry for him. It's kind of in the tank. I don't know. He can't. I thought there was a new. What do they call that? A split, taproot, something they were changing. And when they got that done, I thought it was really supposed to go. I need to read up on that because it hasn't gone anywhere but sideways and down a little. Mm-hmm. So Tesla's $1,000. Elon's got to sell like another 6 million shares before the end of the year to pay his tax bill. So I don't expect it to do a whole lot. It's holding up pretty good, though, for as many shares have been dumped. I think he's dumped, I don't know, has he dumped 10 million shares or something like that, I think?
You would know out of all the people here.
You know, I don't think I looked, but he's dumped a pile to pay. He's got it. And he's actually, when he's done dumping, he's going to own more shares than he did when he started because of all the options that he took. And yeah, we'll save that for another time. He had a CEO. He spoke at a CEO deal that the Wall Street Journal put on, and it was some pretty interesting comments about everything and anything. But we'll talk about another time. So today, the guest we've got today kind of reminded me how fast time flies because when I thought about it, I realized that the last time that we had a chance to sit down with this guy was actually the first time that we were ever on a podcast, and it kind of galvanized our desire to do one of our own. And I don't know how long ago that was, but it was before we started our first one, and we're 25 episodes in. So Matt's a graduate of the University of Iowa and has a BA in enterprise leadership, sustainability, and pre-med. I had to read that off the sheet because you must have partied a lot, to come out of there with all of that. Holy Mother Mary. He received his MBA from Johns Hopkins University, and today he's the president and CEO of Swine and the host of the Popular Pig podcast. And he likes good whiskey, so that raises a stock.
And he likes the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, he's a Hawkeye fan.
That helps.
And that might be a good segue into what we're doing. So, well, I'll let it go. So, welcome, Matt Rooda, to Barn Talk.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So, before we go in and before I lose this thought, since you're an Iowa graduate and a Hawkeye fan, I always like to pose people this question. So, what's wrong with the Iowa Hawkeye football program? And I'd like for you to, get that in like a 1 minute bit, but I'll even give you multiple choice. So is it our conservative coaching? Is it our lack of decent recruits? Or is it some sort of curse that has just been put upon us that we can't consistently win big games? Because I just can't understand, and I'll give you my thesis that I tell everybody. Iowa consistently puts out offensive and defensive linemen that are amongst the best in the NFL. In fact, they're known for it. In fact, guys, I've heard many interviews by head coaches that they know when they draft a lineman from Iowa, they don't have to worry about them getting up to speed because they come in and they know so much because Ferentz does such a good job of getting them ready.
Yeah, it's incredibly low risk to draft an Iowa lineman.
Okay. So if you're a 5-star, I'll even say if you're a 4 or you're a 5-star running back or quarterback, and you know that Iowa has a great line and they got great guys, they're going to protect you. Why would you not want to come here and play football? And it's not because of the winners, because there's other people that have winners worse than us that consistently get. I don't understand. Tell me your thoughts.
There's a lot. I think there's a lot that goes into that, but I'll let you speak on it, Matt.
Oh, man, it is a deep topic. You have to have a high tolerance for pain to be a Hawkeye fan.
Yeah, you do.
It's like the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a Cowboys fan. I grew up and I went through so many 8-8 seasons, and I went through seasons where they get your hope up, like this year with the Hawkeyes. They get your hopes up, go to the Big Ten championship, and they just get annihilated.
Oh, even throughout the year we got our hopes up.
Yeah.
But I think we went into the season with our eyes wide open, and then we got scammed.
Yep.
I mean, when we look at Iowa football, we're 7 years in a row against Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa State.
And yeah, if you're somebody that's an Iowa State fan and you're laughing right now, or you're just saying, yeah, screw the Hawkeyes, they suck, you have no room to talk. You have no room to talk.
No,
at
the
all.
state of Iowa.
You're way worse off. You're not even close. You're not even the Hawkeyes level yet. You had one good year, 2 good years, and this year you shit the bed completely. So.
They didn't even play us that year either.
Yeah, that's true.
If we played Iowa, we would have beat you this year.
Yep.
Just wanted to throw that in there. I think it's the other thing is you got to have swag. You got to be a cool school. Like they're going to Florida, they're going to Alabama, they're going to LSU. These top recruits. You know, you got to have some.
What's better than our logo, though?
I know. I will admit it is pretty sweet. And I did go to the Penn State game where we beat up Penn State and we stormed the field, and it was awesome. It was the best Hawkeye game I've ever been to. And Ferentz knew. He knew what he was doing because he brought all the recruits there to that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And it was loud. Yeah. The stadium, the energy in that stadium, the fans, it was incredible. If I was a player, I would have been like, if I know the fans got my back like this, I'm ready to get on this freaking field because you just felt the energy. I will say, Hawkeye fans, I feel like no matter how bad we are, we are one of the most loyal fan bases. And anytime, like on TikTok, someone will see my Hawkeye hat, and in TikTok, you know how freaking big that is, how wide of an audience you can see. I'll see 4 Go Hawk comments on there because people just love the Hawks.
Yep. I mean, our fan base, we know we're not going to win a national championship, but you would never guess that when you talk to a Hawkeye fan. Like you would think as another fan of another school that we actually are delusional enough to think that we have a chance every single year, like we're LSU, Clemson, Alabama. Yep. I think there's 2 things with the Hawkeye program that to me stand out. When we are looking at our identity within the Big Ten, I don't want to be. I mean, we're not Iowa State's rival.
Right.
We are, but we don't lose.
Right.
We're not Minnesota's. We don't lose. Nebraska? No, we don't lose.
Right.
Wisconsin? We lose a lot to Wisconsin, and they are the reason we often don't win the West. But Wisconsin doesn't want us to be their rival.
Nope.
They want to be Michigan's.
Yep.
They want to be Ohio State's.
Yep.
Michigan State's. And so when we look at the West, the 2 best teams typically don't see each other as rivals.
Right.
Like the East does.
It's just a hurdle.
It's a hurdle.
Yep.
And each team is like, we think we're your rival. No, you're not. It's kind of this big brother, little brother thing. Yep. And then second, when Kirk Ferentz is, my opinion, when he is recruiting quarterbacks, it feels like he's recruiting quarterbacks who he believes will be compliant to the process. Yep. And so could we get better candidates? I think so. Are we getting the candidates that Kirk wants? Yep. I think so.
Yep, I agree with you. 100%.
Yeah, I just can't believe that we've never landed like a Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields that played for Ohio State. He was a freaking stud. He plays for the Bears now. Like, why can't we get one of those mobile read option pistol quarterbacks that can throw in and run the ball like a stud? Because I feel like you got the line. We have a decent running back pretty much every year.
Well, you have to.
Our defense is solid. If
we just got that recruit out of Southeast Polk too.
Yep,
That's
safety,
huge.
5-star
Huge.
safety. He's from Southeast Polk. He's committing to Iowa. That was pretty big. But man, I think if we just had a solid quarterback that could do both, because this year, let's be honest, everybody knows the offense this year just it was the problem.
Couldn't get it done.
It was the problem. Defense was solid. Hell, the special teams was solid. It was amazing. The offense is just. It's lackluster, and it's kind of always been that way. I remember when Stanzi played, and Marvin McNutt and DJK and Tony Moyaki. That was the best Iowa offense I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Which is crazy because it was pick six Stanzi, but when I look back too, it's if there's a favorite quarterback that I've ever watched at Iowa, it's Ricky Stanzi.
Yes.
The guy had flair.
And I think that's why, though, is because wouldn't you say that of the quarterbacks that are compliant, Ricky Stanzi was the most aggressive? I feel like he was. Because when you look at this year, the two quarterbacks that we've seen, they both looked like game managers to me. And what I hate to say this, but during the game last week, they both looked a lot like who was the Bears quarterback that
Jay Cutler.
Yeah, they looked like Jay Cutler standing there forlorn, like how did I get here? Where am I? What's going on? Anyway, you know what? We've just spent 5 minutes, and I don't feel any better than I did when I posed the question to
I
start.
also think Brian Ferentz is a problem. I'll just say it. I don't think he's
agree.
a great offensive coordinator. I'm just going to say I think he wants to run the ball and be the ground pound Iowa football team that we've always been, but son of a bitch, we got to open it up a little.
I've heard good arguments to why Brian Ferentz is okay, and it's not him.
Yes.
I'm with you. I would agree it's Brian, but I've heard good arguments when they dig into it. But like there was this huge Twitter post talking about the game the other day.
Yep.
And when they were diving into it, on second down, we ran 82% after throwing on first.
Yep.
And our tendency this year has been like 77%.
The teams know what's going on.
They know exactly what's going on. Like the other day, we were sitting there, and I was with my buddy who's a way bigger Iowa fan than I am. And we called all 3 plays in a row. We scored a touchdown, but we were like, I bet it was 3rd and 2.
Yep.
And I bet we sat there and I said, I bet we run a shotgun draw on 3rd and 2. Well, actually, it was 3rd and goal on the 2. We ran a freaking draw.
Yep. But don't you feel like, I feel that part of that is Ferentz wants a team that is dominant enough that they know what you're going to run and they can't defend it.
Yeah, but you're not Alabama.
No, you're not. I know you're not, but that's what, like when I see them do that, I think what's running through their mind is that they've got
best
this
offensive line in the nation.
They've got this line and that they can impose their will on who they're playing. And some people they can. And when they can, that's fun football to watch. The problem is
when you play Michigan that has an insanely good defense.
You can't do that. You have to have a little bit of creativity. And what I heard was that there were a couple of plays. I mean, I don't know. The example that I heard was that if people that were at the game heard him call a play and Elder Ferentz vetoed it, basically said, no, we're not going to do that. So
Kirk Ferentz might be the best game manager.
Yes,
though,
I agree.
All of college football.
I agree.
The confidence he has.
Yep.
The only reason we won Penn State was because he trusted
hung around
the defense. He trusted he trusted the process.
Hell, that Nebraska game, we could have easily lost that game.
Oh.
But defense special teams showed out on that.
Yeah, and they always have the idea that all they got to do is hang around for 3 quarters and then perform in the 4th quarter. That's their
like
goal.
Tim Tebow.
They want to wear people down, wear them down, hang around, don't manage the game, and then come in and get it done. All right, I might feel a little better.
I don't know. I just feel like this is my last statement. I feel like we're slowly getting more and more respected as one of the best Big Ten teams in the nation and one of the best programs to go to in the nation. Yeah. I honestly think so. I think
so
it's
too.
getting better.
I think when we look outside of football and basketball too, well, football are rated 2 in the nation. We can argue we're overrated. But we were also rated top 2 in the nation for basketball.
Yeah.
And our women's basketball wins a state or a conference championship, or baseball wins a conference championship, or volleyball wins a conference championship. So the athletic program as a whole is on the rise, and that's cool to see that it's not just one sport, but it's the whole system, because that's going to bring money from all directions.
And the city's fun. I'm just going to tell you, if you're somebody that, once you're an athlete and you want to go to a college and you can go visit Iowa, because it's a great town to have fun too. Yeah. So it's got it all. It's good. It's good all around the city.
Matt, did you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast when he had Dan Gable on?
I didn't yet. I've been wanting to watch that.
That's awesome. So talking about Iowa City nightlife, Dan Gable has an excellent little story. They talked about how in the heyday of Iowa wrestling that on a Friday and Saturday night, he didn't go to bed. He just slept in his recliner because he had it pretty much down pat that every bar in Iowa City had his number. And at midnight, if any of his wrestlers, or at 2 a.m. or whatever, if any of his wrestlers were getting out of hand, he would get a phone call, and he would get up and put his hat and gloves on, and he'd go downtown and he'd get them.
Wow.
Yeah, like he talked about that, how that, these young guys, you just got to know how to manage them. And that's what he did. He would just go downtown and pick them up and make sure they got back to the dorm or wherever they were going. And I thought, today it truly is. It was different times. I mean, it was completely different times. But I mean, that's one of the best stories about him talking about just sleeping in his recliner, and then the phone would ring and he'd go wherever he had to go.
Pretty cool though that he was able to just let his wrestlers know, hey, call me and I won't, call me if you need a ride or something. Call me if you need
Well,
something.
today you wouldn't have you wouldn't have the roster that he had because of anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, Matt, you were a busy guy. And so you grew up in Oskaloosa, but you moved. You're not a native, or are you? Did you move away and back? I wasn't sure, but you grew up in Oskaloosa, is that right?
Yeah, so I grew up in Oskaloosa, went to school in Pella, too, for high school, and then was actually born in Kinston, North Carolina.
Okay.
So my dad was managing sales for J.C. Howard down there in Eastern Carolina, and so
that's you inherited the NASCAR. That's how you're such a huge NASCAR fan. It's in your
blood.
DNA.
Yeah. Exactly.
In the blood.
Yeah.
So give us a little background, just kind of how you fell in love with the swine industry and how you came to come to Iowa and then go to college and all that stuff. Just give us a little background.
Yeah, so my passion for the swine industry, years in the making. Let's put it that way. So my grandfather had a farm in Pella. My dad was originally from Pella, my mom from Michigan. But when they met, got married, they decided to move to North Carolina to take that job with J.C. Howard. And from the time, my earliest memories is going to the farm with my dad, riding in the bucket as he's feeding sows and riding tractor and stuff like that. And then visiting my grandpa and helping him with pigs. But growing up, it was never the traditional perspective of pigs. Most kids you talk to today, they did show pigs. Well, I didn't have that luxury because of biosecurity. My dad just couldn't have a couple show pigs on the farm. And so growing up, I would do contract vaccinations in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade for a local producer and start power washing, and it just paid better. And so I was able to go get all the stuff I wanted. Yep. And video games, people can say they're not great, but they're a great motivator when you don't have the game you want.
Yep,
so
there you go.
I used that as motivation to go out there and work, and eventually started to manage and become more involved. I had the opportunity to work for a company, Tri-County Pork. You know those guys. Yep. And that's where I became more involved on the south side and on farrowing than I ever had been before. And I really loved how you could chase perfection, but never get there. Yep. It's also frustrating. But in the sow farm, there's always something you can be doing better, and it's very innovative in nature. And so that really captivated me and made me look into it. I eventually went over to healthcare, which we can talk about, but that really is what I loved about the swine industry. It's the south side.
You went to high school there in Pella, and you were working in the pig industry as you were in high school. So, if you're an ag kid Iowa State is the obvious choice if you're gonna be an ag, because they have one of the best ag schools in the nation. So what got you, like, what was your decision process that you decided to go to Iowa? And so you didn't go the path of ag business or vet or anything like that. You kind of went your own path. What was the decision-making process of that?
So there's a couple things, and we start back with Iowa versus Iowa State. Some of my most frustrating memories as a kid was when I was in 3rd, 4th grade, and my parents wouldn't let me stay up to watch the Greg Bruner, Adam Haluska, Jeff Horner team. I loved Iowa.
Yep.
And I think I was lucky as a kid to have good teams to watch when I was young. So I knew I wanted to go to Iowa. Iowa was probably one of the things I knew the most. But when it came to studying agriculture, ag business is something you kind of grew up in.
Yep.
Didn't want to pay to learn it.
Yep.
I already got it. And so if I'm going to go to school, let's try something different. My dad told me, do something different.
Yeah, you can always come back to this.
You can always come back to it. He did it. His dad did it. His dad's dad did it. And he's like, it's a tough industry.
Yeah.
Try something different. And so I started looking at business, and I started looking in healthcare, and I really liked working in the sow farm, right?
Yep.
Not to dehumanize it, but I liked that birthing aspect. It was very rewarding. So I was like, well, let's try to be an obstetrician. And so I studied genetics and biotechnology at Iowa and did some shadowing and some work at hospitals and nursing homes, and worked at Oaknall here in Iowa City and for a couple of years as a medication aide. And that's the route I was going before we founded Swine Tech, and took kind of a 180 on what that path was going to be.
So you make it through. What was the process? Like, did you know? I always find it interesting when I'm talking to people that, end up going out on their own. Usually there's a moment where you've worked for different people. You've done internships. You've worked your way through college. At what point did you know or have the idea to go out on your own to do Swine Tech?
It wasn't planned, and it kind of caught me by surprise. And so something I often tell young people who aspire to be entrepreneurs is find an industry, work as hard as you can to accomplish what you want in that industry, and something's going to prevent you from getting there. And when you find that wall, it's usually not just you who's facing it. It's probably an industry problem, and then go and try to solve it. And so find real problems, and the only way to find real problems versus kind of sitting in your room and trying to fabricate an idea is to go out there and be challenged by it. And working as a manager and for a few years at Schneider Pork Farms in the Waterloo area really put me against that wall where I was facing the labor issues, the mortality challenges. And so as I'm working in this nursing home for a couple of years, University of Iowa sends out an email saying we got $3,000 for a student with a good business idea. So I was pretty bored with chemistry and biology. Let's just say I liked the end result of what that work was, but I wasn't all that fascinated by the actual classes I was in at the time. So I attend this info session, hear a lot of ideas like, wouldn't it be nice if somebody could come pick up your books and bring them back to the library? I'm like, or do your laundry for you. And I'm like, these are such small problems. And went and presented and brought PigChamp data from a few different systems. Had the complete breakdowns of the mortality. And the individual looked at me and they're like, we've never had anybody come to us with data before. It was, I had the whole ROI case. And so we got into an incubator, got the funding, and actually started working with, speaking of football, Josie Jewell, because he was doing some cattle technology work at the same time. And so through that whole process in school, we kind of worked back and forth with him and a guy named Lon Olenzak, who really helped us kind of think through a lot of those things early on.
You got the idea, so there's a lot of ideas. So did you kind of go, oh, crap, well, what am I going to do now? What's the next step? Like, had you thought that far ahead when you presented as to how you were going to try to accomplish this? Or was it like, okay,
I kind of have an idea.
Now
I kind of feel like I know what I could do. Let's just put this stat out here and see if I can get this funding, and then we'll kind of figure out the next step.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. It's taking it step by step. We knew piglet crushing was a huge issue. Yeah. We knew that millions of pigs were dying from it. We could quantify the problem. And we knew that, at least in my time on the sow farm, we could teach sows to start getting up every morning when you went into feed. And I thought, why can't we teach sows to get up off of their piglets? We as pork producers, within days, can understand the squeal of a piglet and know, I got to go save its life.
Right.
Why couldn't we teach technology? Amazon Alexa was popular at the time.
Yep.
Why can't we create some voice recognition algorithms to figure this out for us?
So what year would have this been?
This would have been 2015. 2015, we would have applied in February, got the award in March. We ended up getting a scholarship from the John and Elsie Ferentz. So the Ferentz family gave us a scholarship.
Guess we shouldn't have been bagging on Ferentz so hard.
No, you have to. That's the name of the game in college sports. Yeah. But then we went into an incubator program at the University of Iowa for 2 months where we were supposed to validate the business idea and the whole concept of starting a business, especially with hardware or anything, is understand your business model canvas. Who are your channel partners, your products, all the different aspects of your business model before you actually jump in and think of a solution. And then go to the customer discovery. So they actually recommend that when you do want to solve a problem, don't start with having an idea of how to fix it. Start with just the discussions with producers on
the problem,
breaking it down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you can understand it better from all levels.
Absolutely.
Nice. So were you like a senior in college when you got this funding, or was it like, so you were at the end of your college career when you got this funding, and like right after you graduated, it was like full board?
No, actually I was the end of my junior year.
Okay.
And after this incubator program, we had a group called the Iowa Startup Accelerator in Cedar Rapids come to us and say, we've been following you guys. We like what you're doing. Our program is closed and we're kicking it off here soon, but we'd like to admit you guys as our last team. So we were going to get $25,000 from them, and we were going to be able to spend that on prototyping and whatever else we needed. And he said, kick is you got 24 hours to let me know, and you got to drop out of school.
Oh shit!
Boy. Yeah. That was tough.
So was that one of your hardest decisions? Like, was that one of the biggest hard decisions you ever had to make, like in your young life?
Yeah, I would say that was probably one of the toughest decisions to make. And I think watching college sports actually helped me make that decision more.
That's a great tie-in. I'm so glad that we had the Hawkeye conversation.
Oh yeah,
front.
absolutely.
Gosh, dang.
So at the time, a friend of mine was dating Desmond King. And Desmond decided, because of his family's influence, to stay in college his senior year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Killed his draft stock.
Yep.
Definitely.
And the reason he stayed was because he wanted to complete his education.
Yep.
You can always come back to college. Mm-hmm. There's never, ever going to be a time where a college says, no, we will not accept your money for a degree.
Might be a little more expensive depending on how long you wait. But.
I'm thinking about going. I'm thinking about going back next year.
Oh yeah.
I'm only 40 credits short.
Don't do that.
Just a little bit.
I think I could run it. I'll run it for you. I'll run this whole thing without you.
Swear?
It could be his internship.
It could be your internship. That's
that
right.
sounds like this is sounding better all the time.
Can you learn how to code or something? Can you learn something useful?
If I was going to go back today, that's what I would go to do, is learn to code.
Absolutely.
Just because people would think I'd be like a freak, a 50-year-old man that can code and do
social media as a podcaster and can edit on Adobe Premiere.
My stock went way up.
Good Lord.
Huge.
Jeez.
Okay, we digress.
So did you end up dropping out, or that was a decision?
Yeah, so we ended up dropping out.
You learned from Desmond.
Yeah, learned from Desmond because, man, if he would have gone at the end of his junior year,
first round pick, top 10 probably.
Yeah, millions of dollars in difference for that guy.
Oh yeah.
Could have sent his entire family for multiple generations to college.
Oh yeah.
Versus just focusing on, I'm going to get my degree, which everyone has their priorities, and I respect that.
Yep.
Right.
That was something where I totally thought he was off the wall on that one, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do the same thing here. Yep. And it was a great moment because my co-founder and I, co-founder was Abraham Espinoza from Mexico, met him in college, and best friends with the guy. We both had to make that decision together. Yep. And when we both committed to dropping out for a semester, we both knew we were all in. Yep. And that was huge for us because a lot of times people start companies and you're not quite sure, are we doing that?
They're half pregnant. They're like in, they're out.
Well, that you're totally right. You bring up a great point because if you're a sole entrepreneur, the decisions it's easier because you only got to worry about you. When you're a partnership, then you got to be of the same frame of mind, and you got to know that you can count on that person. So I mean, that's
pretty cool.
That's huge.
It's cool that you both kind of were thinking the same thing. So then that made it even like more like, okay, yeah, let's just do this thing. You know?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, because I think it's a little bit harder when you're by yourself and you're like, oh man, but then you got somebody else like, let's just do it, dude. Let's do it.
Well, and my parents, they were like, I don't know.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
oh yeah. So just give us a little bit of like what your company's products are and like what you can do for producers out there, what your goals are as far as what was your vision and where it is now as far as what you guys provide.
Yeah, so when we were in that program, our vision was prevent piglet crushing in an autonomous way. Create a technology that could hear it, analyze it, identify where that piglet was, and alert us how to stand up. And so we went back to school. We did graduate, but we went back to school, and from 10 at night till 6 in the morning, we'd be out at the farm collecting sound samples for months. And so I think there's football again.
Yep.
Iowa State had an overtime game in like 2017, and I'm at a stinking farm running sound samples, and I was so frustrated I couldn't be watching that thing. But with that, what we eventually did was we created a prototype that worked. We created a prototype that could hear a pig, differentiate it between teat fights and other sounds that are happening in the farm, and then alert the sow to stand up. But there were 4 different inventions we had to get along the way. We had to identify the sound, we had to locate the animal, we had to actually find a way to incentivize the animal to
stimulate
stand up.
the sow to get up.
Yep, and then we had to find a way to stick something onto a sow and keep it there. And so all 4 were very challenging. One thing that helped us through all this prototyping was pitch competitions. So the universities have student competitions where you can go pitch for money.
Oh, sure.
Free money, no strings attached. And we got about $350,000 in pitch competitions on 25 different competitions
Wow.
we did. MIT, Harvard, Microsoft, Under Armour. And when we went through that, we thought, why would they care about pigs? That's the wrong question to ask. And there's a story element to all of this too. They cared so much.
Well, because it was so unique.
Because they knew so little.
Yeah.
It mattered. It was such a big deal to them when they were able to see a video of a little piglet stressing for its life and then be saved.
Yeah.
And so that mattered. We got that product. We got some funding, initial $1.3 million in funding that allowed us to kind of get the initial version out there, raise another 6, and ultimately created a product that went through Kansas State trials for welfare assurance. We were using a TENS impulse, which is used in muscle and nerve therapy for people to get the sow to roll over. So incredibly safe. And we actually found there were some welfare benefits too for the sow and piglets, which are pretty cool. But we ran into a challenge. And that challenge was that it wasn't completely autonomous. When we have sows that are at-risk sows to laying on piglets, somebody needs to intervene. And we found that the intervention or the last step of the mile that was tied to people and the variability that came from that created variability in results.
Oh, sure.
Long-term for ROI. And the more we looked into it, the more we identified that was a challenge all precision technologies are having. I can have a camera that tells me an animal's sick, but if somebody responds within the recommended 8 hours versus 20, 25 hours.
Right. Doesn't matter. I mean,
doesn't matter. There's no ROI.
Because your results are the same as if they didn't get the signal.
Absolutely. So all these producers we're talking to, we're recognizing a pattern that we're innovating, but we're not expanding. Yep. And they're not expanding because they wisely know they have no clue what's happening in the farm.
Yep.
What's happening every day, who's doing it, are they compliant with their expectations? And because we don't know, we do know that there's going to be variability. So why would I spend all this money to bring this technology throughout all my operations with an unclear understanding of the ROI or the utilization of the technology as a whole? And that's when we founded PigFlow.
Okay. Yeah, because that product... Okay, I'm going to back up just a minute.
There's a lot there.
I'm going to back up a minute because some of you that are watching or listening, you might not know what the problem is as far as a pig getting crushed by their mother, because that doesn't sound, your mom didn't lay down on top of you.
Since you got born.
It happens.
It does happen, but it's not. And so part of it has to do with the fact that a nursing sow is not the most graceful animal. There's a lot of weight there, and when they go to get up, it's not a real smooth motion for them to stand up because they're carrying a lot of weight. And when they go to lay down, there's kind of if you've ever watched them lay down, there's kind of a starting point where they start to move their legs to lay down, and then they kind of get over center, and then they just kind of plop down.
Yeah.
And if you are a baby pig, the closer that mom's teat gets to your level, the more excited you get because you're going to get fed. And when a litter is first born, they haven't figured out yet that when mom goes down, it's kind of like an avalanche, and you need to wait for the avalanche to hit the ground before you go grab that teat. And so what can happen is the pigs will be right underneath the sow as she starts to lay down, and if you don't get out of the way, you're going to get crushed. And then some sows, and I think you've probably, I'm speculating, but some sows are worse than others as far as their level of whether they care about getting back up or not. Because some of them, and I imagine, are gilts worse than second or third parity sows, or is it pretty even?
Yeah, it's a weird distribution. It kind of depends on genetics sometimes. But one thing we actually found is you're alluding to it is when that sow lays down, plops on a pig.
Yep.
Well, we've had some assumptions as an industry that we had to learn and disprove or prove throughout this process. And one of them was that the majority of piglets die when the mom lays down, when it's about a third.
Really?
It's about a third. And the weaker, slower pigs tend to be the ones that kind of tend to be in that bucket of a third. But the 2/3 of lay-ons actually occur when she's not laying down at all.
Really?
Really. So it's about 4,000 hours of video. We have bad dreams of just hearing pig squeals because you heard it for so long every day. But when that sow is laying there and her teats are exposed, and she rolls back over.
Flips over.
She flips over. Those big pigs chase the teat.
Yep, and they go right under.
Squished.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yep, because I wouldn't have thought that. I wouldn't have thought that at all.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so it's the piglet's fault. But some sows want to flop around more than others.
Yeah.
And so finding
the more
those
they
at-risk
flop,
sows,
the more chances that they
More risk.
absolutely.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So there's two scenarios where they can get crushed.
Yep.
Oh man, I didn't.
Two major ones.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm just thinking about me as either the sow farm manager or the integrator. So, describe this product as far as where is it set? How's it work?
Yeah.
And then we'll talk a little bit about, because I bet you there's plenty of stories about the looks and phrases that you got when you first tried to get this out.
Goodness.
But so give us, how does it work?
So in the sow stall, you've got that center divider.
Yep.
And what we do is we hang basically a baby monitor, like you would in a crib.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right on the pen itself. And it's acoustically designed to block out noise from outside of that pen and amplify the noise in the pen. And it's just going to be listening to that sound. Well, we have a wearable device that has that TENS impulse inside of it, which, for clarification, TENS impulse is about 1/10 of an actual cattle prod and about 1/3 or 1/4 of a dog collar.
So it's probably a lot like when unless you're somebody that thinks that chiropractors are the devil, it's probably similar to those patches that chiropractors put on your back, like when they set you down. It's supposed to relax your muscles,
It's the exact same thing.
Okay.
Except the only difference we do is typically when you put those on, they're coming.
Well, right.
Right? So you're not startled.
Right.
But when it happens when we attach it to a sow, they're startled. They have a nice little reaction to it. And so that gives the piglet just enough time to
get out.
And so when we actually looked at the actual product, now that we have this monitor in the pen, we have this wearable device that we insert into an adhesive patch with a medical grade adhesive that goes right on the sow's flank. So we want her to go up. And so the flank's a great place for that. The time it took to figure out we tried sound, we tried food, water, all these different conditioning methods, and none of them worked. And then the amount of we had to go to Japan and Vietnam to get this adhesive. It was a process.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And so is it a second? Is it does it have some sort of delay where it gives her a stimulation and then it waits, and if the sound doesn't go away, then it goes again, or how does that work?
Absolutely. So when we look at the sounds of pigs, one thing that all pork producers can recognize is that when I hear a pig getting laid on, I sit there and I kind of stand and wait. Because what I'm trying to figure out is, do I hear a break in the rhythm?
Yep.
Because if I do, it's probably a teat fight. Well, once you stand there and you wait about 5-10 seconds, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a lamb. Then I go run and try to find this thing if I'm in the barn.
Right.
Same thing with the technology. We listen for 10 to 15 seconds. And in that time frame, we're looking at the waveform, the frequency, and the time duration to figure out that rhythm, that breath, squeal, breath, squeal, breath, squeal, until we actually alert the sow to stand up, which is an impulse. And then what we'll do is we'll wait 5 seconds and give a second one.
Okay.
And if for whatever reason that squeal doesn't stop or she doesn't get up, we lock out the system and notify a team member to say, hey, this sow was laying on a pig. We tried to get her up. It didn't work. You need to come in and kind of look at the situation.
So that's where the human error kind of thing kicked in for you guys.
Well, I mean, that's one area because you really want someone to come in and look and say, well, is there a problem with the mesh flooring?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something, or is the sow no longer lactating?
Oh, sure.
Are pigs non-stop squealing because
they
can't get anything to eat.
And so you have these outliers, which at the end of the day, like, are huge welfare concerns if we don't identify those piglets that are starving.
Right.
And that was huge for us. The actual employee part comes in because at Kansas State, we maxed the amount of times we could save pigs 6 times. So 6 different events, not 6 in a row, just 6 different events over 4 or 5 days. And we never wanted to go beyond that because our welfare research suggested that was good.
Yeah.
Well, when we hit that 6th threshold, the device is no longer going to stop it. And that sow is an outlier. Most sows do 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
There's about 15% of sows that are going to be at that 6 plus.
Yeah.
What are we going to do to those litters? Yeah. And often people do nothing.
Yep.
Well, how do we drive and reinforce the right behaviors and actions in the moment to utilize the technology to its fullest?
How much does 24-hour care play into that success of that product? Because, when I was on the production side, one of the things that we saw that we wanted to do, but we struggled to do, and I'm sure everybody's struggling to this day, was the idea of having somebody on the farrowing side 24 hours a day, just in case.
Yeah.
Where with your product, that would definitely be a benefit if you had somebody there, the sow didn't react, they got the notification, and they could physically get her up.
Actually, when it comes to Smart Guard, because of pricing and how it all works out, it's your autonomous solution to get around 24/7.
Oh, sure.
Because they come in the morning and then address it. 24/7 farms were never a great fit for us, but 24/7 hasn't been very positive just because it's so hard to have 1 or 2 people in the barn for both safety and actually knowing people are getting things done.
Yeah, because if I'm the 24-hour guy, I'm watching YouTube videos till I fall asleep. I'm not your go-getter. I mean, that's the sad truth of it is.
Well, when you're hiring people, it's for day 0, day 1 care.
Yep.
You're not breeding. You're not doing that stuff at night. So you're likely sitting on a bucket in a farrowing room. You're checking probably 5 to 10 sows that are farrowing, which means you've got
a lot of time.
Got a lot of time
to get disinterested.
Yes, a lot of time to get, which isn't all that different from nursing homes of people who work 3rd shift. Everyone's sleeping. You got 2-hour rounds, but there's some pretty cool parallels. And it's just how do we help people overnight? How do we bring clarity to that?
Yeah, that's a great insight.
So do piglets die of suffocation, or is it more like they get crushed and they like crack their neck? Like, because you said that you wait a little bit. Is it because they're suffocating, they can't get air because the sow's just on them? Is that kind of the most common way? Yeah,
so you'll get about 25, 30 seconds into it, and that 15 to 25 second span is really when you're going to confirm this is a problem.
Yeah.
They'll stop. They'll start to lose the breath because they are so compressed. They actually, more than 9 times out of 10, they're going to die from suffocation, not from actually crushing. But when we actually look at that, it's incredible. We did the size comparison. Imagine something the size of 2 mammoths or like 3.5 elephants all in one creature laying on a grown adult. That's the weight comparison.
That's the equivalent.
That's the equivalent
to a little pig.
And so it's just a huge amount of weight. placed on these little pigs.
I had an experience similar to that when I was at Kirkwood Community College. One time I was in a galley kitchen, and a person that'll remain nameless caught me, and I didn't think I was going to make it out, but I did. I squeezed past. I made it out of there. It was horrible. I had nightmares about it. Kind of similar experience, but a little different.
I thought that was going a whole nother direction.
It could have, but I just let it go.
So I want to just to the people out there that don't know much about, sow units or sows or just pigs in general, why would an integrator or why would an independent grower want, and that was, raising and breeding their own or farrowing their own sows, why would they want this product? What's it going to do for production? What are they going to see improvements on? Why would they want this? Why does it matter to save as many piglets as you can?
Absolutely. And you brought up a great point for those of you who do not know sow farms. And so one of the things that was really helpful for us early on is we found a video on YouTube of a sow in an open 70 style pen.
Yep.
Running around with the little baby piglets. You had the dirt, the grass. They all look super happy.
Yep.
The sow flops on a piglet. Well, that piglet's staring at the screen. Squeal, squeal, squeal. And eventually, after 4 seconds, it gets out. Kind of walks it off.
Mm-hmm.
That was eye-opening to a lot of people who don't understand animal agriculture.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to sow crates.
Yep. Because
I was able to show a video and show stats saying, if this is raised without a sow crate, we're going to have a way bigger welfare issue.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't, we've talked about this before, a lot of people don't understand that. So I'm in a little bit of a unique situation in the fact that there's such a healthy gap between me and my dad, in the fact that my dad was, 52 years old when I was born, but I grew up here pasture farrowing, and I got in on the tail end of pasture farrowing, and then, we built our first confinement buildings in the 70s. And the whole reason that he was so excited about that is because he farrowed in 2 10-pen farrowing houses. And also, we should throw a picture when we're doing this. He was using Tamworth Cross Duroc Tamworth Cross sows, which I wouldn't get in a pen with a Tamworth, because literally it's like it today. What it looks like is a boar today with an udder. I mean, they're mean. Yeah, I wouldn't get in there for anything. And there's pictures of my dad kneeled down with this Duroc Tamworth sow that has 6 pigs on her, or maybe 8 pigs on her, whatever. They're all good pigs. But he always said, it was just completely nuts to him as to why anybody would want to go back to farrowing in a pen, because the whole reason that they built those buildings with crates, and the crates they had were pretty crude. They were straight crates with no rub bars, sidebars, anything like that. But they were so much better than what they had, because that sow, when she decided she was going to lay down, she didn't give much thought to it. It was time to lay down. And he just said that, the number of good pigs that you lost from pigs getting crushed in a either a 10-pen farrowing house or a farrowing hut was just crazy.
Which shows that a lot of this innovation around the actual crate itself came from a place of care.
Yeah.
And often when I'm talking
people overlook that a lot.
They do a lot.
They think we're just monsters and we're just trying to get every dollar we can. But little do they know.
It really didn't start from efficiency. It started from the necessity. And then, of course, once you figured out that was a better way to do it, then the efficiency of having them all in a farrowing room and not in multiple 10-pen or multiple farrowing huts in a alfalfa pasture, that came along.
Well, but, in my role at Schneider Farms at the time before they went to an ESF system, they were a farrowing house, and you moved them on a hog cart to breeding barn, a hog cart to gestation, and every now and then you'd have a sow that would farrow out in the straw out in the gestation barn, and you have to go out there with a panel and try not to die from the sow attacking you as you're collecting these baby pigs, which are in the process of dying because of the weather conditions. And it was just a nightmare. So when we're talking with consumers, one thing we often say is that, these sow crates for farrowing, they still are a
serve
solution.
a purpose.
They still serve a purpose. And the losses we have today, it's not a competitive solution for what we're doing because it's the standard, it's the benchmark. But on the gestation side, we brought in gestation crates, which is another huge topic.
Yeah.
Because this was a way for us to provide individualized care.
100%.
Technology has allowed us to now get to a point where we can provide individualized care without them.
Yep.
Which drives us to a place where we can make a transition. But in the farrowing house,
Yeah.
that's just not possible.
It's not.
For people safety and for piglet safety.
Yeah. And I would argue that, ESF it's not necessarily the best solution safety-wise for the people.
For sure.
Because if you've been in any sow unit, due to the labor that we have, a lot of the people that work in these sow units are smaller people.
Yes.
They just are. And an ESF unit, if you are the person that is in charge of going out and finding the sows that for whatever reason didn't go through and eat that day before, that can be a dangerous job. And so I feel like sometimes we get, it has merit and it has its advantages, but it also has, from a labor standpoint, it has disadvantages too, that, we've got to think about not only the welfare of the animal, but the welfare of the people that we have tasked to provide the welfare for that animal. So
absolutely. And that's where we've gone as a company with our product PigFlow, is focusing on the people, because when we look at the past 40 years, there really isn't anything that's come along where the people are the primary focus.
Yeah.
And so we're asking them to do so much more than we used to.
Yeah.
It's millions of dollars per person in responsibility right now.
Absolutely.
And our genetics are great. Well, we can't do today with people where we used to have 8 live born. Now we have 16 live born, and we're basically giving them the same resources.
Yep.
And it's taxing, it's stressful, it's disorganized, it's frustrating.
So what's PigFlow about? What's your goals with that? What's it doing for integrators and for farmers and growers out there? What's your mission with that?
So PigFlow was inspired by healthcare. We had a conversation with Dr. Brad Frecking, and it was through COVID.
Smart cat.
Very smart.
That guy is smart.
Smart, and he's not going to hold anything back, which is exactly the way I like it. And he basically said, I wish that the government would have included veterinarians more with the whole COVID stuff, because they're the real epidemiologists.
Yep.
Doctors have a class on it.
Yep.
Veterinarians live and die by it.
Every day.
Every day.
Because everything we deal with is that way.
Everything. And so it'd be nice if doctors were to say, veterinarians, you're the expert. Well,
you're not going to get that. No. You're not going to get that.
No, but we kind of do the same thing. We're trying to get to individualized care, and yet we're not looking at healthcare and saying, well, what do? They're the experts at individual. And when we were working through this process, Randy Stacker was a huge, huge mentor for us. And he said, look at other industries. Why is it when you bring someone into a restaurant or into a fast food chain or into a gas station or a manufacturing plant, within 1 or 2 weeks, they're at full productivity? Why? Learn it. So we went and we did that. We went through Culver's. We went through manufacturing, food processing, and we just couldn't find similarities. It was not alike. In a lot of ways, it was, you can easily empathize with the end user, or it was cookie cutter. Like if I go into a fast food chain, we all know what it's like to have undercooked food. We all know what it's like to not get your food on time, and we all know what it's like to have the wrong order.
Yep.
Well, that's their main 3 KPIs. You can't walk into a sow farm and understand that.
No, because it's
you
totally
can't empathize.
different.
It's completely different.
Yep.
But when we started looking at healthcare, man, are there some crazy parallels with what it's like to be a nurse versus what it's like to be an employee in the sow farm. And when we look at it, when we dive into the sow farm, once you step into that door, your quality of care, your success is dictated by how the quality of care is provided. Management, external, supervisors is different. That's more efficiency. That's more flow. But at the end of the day, it's about the care. And so when we started looking at healthcare and the solutions they were providing, like us today, they have sensors saying, the resident had a fall, or they need help, or it's time for medication. Well, if nurses didn't have some device that helped organize and facilitate the communication of all of this, what good's a sensor?
Yeah, it all fall through the cracks.
It's the same thing we're finding today. If I respond to somebody who fell within 10 minutes versus 4 hours, huge variability in results. Well, nurses needed that foundational solution. Well, that's what we're creating for the pork industry, something that helps with workflow efficiencies, process compliance, and individualized care, something that provides a more organized environment for workers where they can have better communication and be less stressed. And at the end of the day, less stress leads to better retention, leads to a better sense of purpose because you know how you're doing and why it matters. And so we've been really focused at what are the people at the ground level doing and how can we make their life better?
Look at that. Look at that.
We need a bomb button.
Yeah, we got the buttons. We just need to put it in there.
We got to program a bomb button.
So there you go, Sawyer. The next time you're having a conversation with your girlfriend's family, I mean, you can tell them.
I know. I should tell Kat's mom to listen to this because she's a nurse to you.
You can tell her that. Look, basically, we're the same. She works on the
mother baby unit. Yeah,
we're basically the same.
Yeah,
you and I, we're basically the same.
There's so many. It's crazy. It is crazy.
So it's really just kind of a platform to make it sure that all the people working in that sow farm are on the same page and people respond to this sow falling or this something happened in the sow farm.
Yeah,
they respond. Hey, I'm responding to this. I got this, and then it just keeps everybody organized and on track.
Absolutely. Like when we look at the sow farm today, we write everything on a card.
Oh yes,
and then it goes on a notepad or a sheet, and then gets transcribed in the office. And we can say, well, look at this real-time record keeping. We've got the handhelds.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. You start to dive into that.
Oh, these handhelds are an absolute... I had nothing to do with the sow side in my time in production. All I know is that nobody on the production had anything good to say about the handhelds.
No, because what handhelds did was said, well, maybe we can get data faster.
Yeah.
Wow. Did they miss something?
Yeah.
How about we help people, help pigs, and as a result, we get the data? Because they'll take these handhelds, they'll implement them, and they'll write on the card.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys are writing on a pad, going to the office, and sitting down and typing into it. So it's just it's a different view.
It just adds more. It adds another layer.
It adds another layer. And like in another scenario, they write it on the card, and they'll have two people walk the entire farm at the end of the day and highlight on the card what got entered into the handheld.
And I mean,
that's not real time.
Time ain't.
That's the problem.
The biggest thing facing ag and the swine industry is labor and time.
Right.
We don't have enough guys, and they don't have enough time. We got to get more efficient.
Well,
absolutely.
We have put a big value on information, so we know we have all this information, and
we know it's important.
So we're gathering it.
But not
and
efficient.
We're not efficient in the way we gather it. So we're wasting valuable labor gathering it that we don't have because we're short on labor everywhere. But then once we have the information, we don't use it.
No, we do not. And even more so, when we look at all the information that's being entered at the farm level, not one drop of it impacts the person in the day at all.
Yep.
And let's, for one example, say you create a real-time solution, which is PigFlow. I'm biased here. And everyone's on the same page, no notes that people are invisible to. But I say this sow farrowed and she just completed and she had 13 live-born. And she's got 14 functional teats. Well, I know right away I got a +1 on the litter.
Yep.
And I know the average age of the litter. So I know if our SOP is to move pigs right around 18 hours, well, I don't have to go count a whole room.
Nope.
I don't go have to or recount it over and over and over.
Yep.
The work we do with our data on the front end that we're putting on cards can be much more powerfully used to drive efficiencies downstream.
Yep.
And so it's taking that data we already collect, distributing it across the team so everyone's aware.
Everybody that needs to know knows.
And then helping prompt individuals to know when and where to use that information. Because the skill sets take a month to teach. But knowing when and where to use those skill sets take months.
Yeah.
And that's where our onboarding process is slow. So it's how do we help people know, this is when and where to make a decision, and this is how you might want to go about that decision based on embedded goals and expectations from the producer. So we allow managers to embed those goals and expectations within the system, and then we use that to reinforce actions and behaviors as they're performing them. So if I'm checking sows and the expectation's 20 minutes, I check a sow, she goes on a 20-minute timer. if the expectation is to move pigs within 24 hours. I'm only showing the pigs available within 24 hours.
Yep.
And you can reinforce it. And that's where we're going with technology as well to get back to the sensors.
Yep.
It's if our expectations that we tell you a sow is sick, you need to we need to respond in 8 hours. And then how can we report back to producers and tech companies? What is the utilization of your technology? How compliant are we, or how successful are we in gaining the value based on your recommendations?
Is it on your phone? Is it like an app? Like what? How would the
tablet?
So you got a tablet.
It's actually a phone.
Oh, is it a phone?
Yeah. So users hate tablets.
Yeah,
they hate them. They hate them. We interviewed almost 200 individuals, and it was far and few between who were like, I like this tablet. They were like, I wish I had a phone because it could just slide in my pocket.
That's the problem. It's like, where do you put it? If you had like a little station for every single sow crate, you could put the pad there or something. Maybe that'd work. But
it's just too much to carry around.
Too much to carry around. Yeah, definitely. And you can drop some expensive things in a hog barn or a sow unit, and
you will drop a tablet in a pit.
Oh, so easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly far more often than a phone.
Easier that Torque can drop a gate rod and an aluminum sorting panel all within 3 minutes.
Isn't that crazy? You got a sorting panel 4 feet long, and it is within millimeters of the same size as that slat hole.
Yeah.
And yet
it has to get in
every
perfectly.
time it falls, it just
perfectly.
Well, it's PSI's fault. It's PSI's fault because it is. It's not my fault. I'm gonna totally cop out on this because
Excuses.
So Tim, this is your fault. My salesman at PSI, they just happened to meet when they were laying slats. They met from each end, right in the alley. And there happens to be two gangs. There's two gangs
hole that's just
bigger,
and that is one.
It's where two gangs meet, and that gang, you can see it. There's this much of a gap between the two gangs because it's where they met, and that just happened to be where Torque dropped the panel. It's not my fault.
It was a bad day for Torque.
It's not my fault.
It was a bad day for Torque. He was a little. Yeah. I was calling him a rookie. I was giving him a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It was,
for sure.
It was kind of funny.
Okay, I got to digress, or I don't know if I'm digressing from that, but what we've just talked about is so current with every industry in this country. Because what you're talking about, because we're short on labor everywhere, and what you're talking about doing is making the labor that you have more efficient.
Making it more efficient.
Less stressful,
less stressed, more skilled.
Because here's the deal.
So you can keep.
You got to make the joy. Yes. You got to make the job enjoyable.
Right.
If you're stressed all the time, I mean, it's the same with sow units, and it's the same with the healthcare industry right now. I got my girlfriend works in healthcare, and her mom works in healthcare, and it's stressful as hell right now. They don't have enough labor. Understaffed. It's stressful. It's not fun, and it's probably the same way. It's everywhere, and you got to make the job. If we got to make it more efficient so they can enjoy their job.
Exactly, because that industry has the same problems as the swine production industry in the fact that it's not efficient, that they have people that are doing things in antiquated ways that take up too much of their time, they're filling out too much paperwork, and there's too much repetition. And I would venture to say...
I think people look at the dollars that they make. They look because they see the dollars that they make, and that's what matters. That's what matters on paper. It's like, we're making more money, we're profitable, so everything we're doing must be good. We're doing good.
It's top down.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, we're fine. We're making money. That's our goal as a business. And hospitals are the same way. Yeah. They're the same freaking way.
We're working with Mercy Hospitals right now, and they're helping us understand and dig into some of these problems. And Epic Health is kind of one of those bigger software companies out there, bringing process compliance and positive patient outcomes to fruition. And when we work with these guys, we start asking them, so hospitals, they're a low margin business, right? Yeah, very low margin. We got to be very efficient. And your biggest challenge is labor, people.
Same.
Yep, that's our biggest challenge. And your definition of success at the end of the day is providing high quality care. Yep.
Wow.
How is that any different than pig production?
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy. Yet we don't look at it.
No.
We look at manufacturing floors to try to inspire us, and really we need to be looking at human health.
It's what do you always say? What do you always say about
all kinds
the swine
of things.
industry? it's everybody focuses on it's not the pigs. It's not the animal that's the problem. It's all the people.
Yep.
It's all the people. We can't seem to figure out how to work the more efficient.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that you face. It's
I mean,
all the logistics that go into people.
In healthcare, aging it happens.
Yep.
People get sick.
Yep.
Doctors who get to the end of their shift who are just burnt out make mistakes.
Yep.
Nurses who are sick of not being treated like they matter
Yep.
make mistakes. And so it's the people component
Yep.
of actually dealing with something that's fairly well known, fairly predictable, that ultimately drives the variability of success or failure. And we try to automate around it and say, well, the person's only responsible for the last 10%. If they don't do the 10% right, it all fails.
Yeah, that's right. It's the weakest link.
So what do you think's more important? Do you think, I bet they're equally as important, but as someone that's an integrator, as somebody that's, farrowing their own pigs, is the sow unit, farrowing your pigs, more important? How many you get out of that litter, how many you keep alive, more important than like the production side? Or are they just as equally as important? Like, what's more important to...
Well, it's all
important.
Yeah, it's so
but
hard.
What's the hardest... What do you think has the most challenges right now? Do you think it's on the farrowing side?
When we look at it, I think the number is your breed target's like 60% of what it means to cash flow a sow farm, and your farrow target's like 30% or 25%, and your wean target's 15 to 10%. And so at the end of the day, that breeding matter. We have to get sows bred. We have to flow the farm efficient. We got to make sure we get that right. But I think the biggest challenge we have today is day 0, day 1 pig care.
Yep.
It's inefficient, unknown. The only aspect of sow production where somebody can go in there and for the rest of their life know their impact is breeder to conception rate.
Yep.
And that's why you find so many people that bred sows for 30, 40 years, because they can sit there and say, I know my purpose and I know my ability to contribute to the organization. Farrowing guys, we should be able to know I'm the best person farrowing sows. I'm the best person fostering. I'm the best person with nurse sows. We have the data, but we do not do it well.
But you can only do that if you have the sows to farrow. So everything you do, if you don't have the sows to farrow, that sow farm's not going to make money. So to your point, what it comes down to is, I've got this sow unit, and I've invested all this money in it, and I've got all this breeding stock in it, I've got all this labor. So if I am only weaning X number of pigs, my costs for everything that went into that has to be shouldered by that number of pigs. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to you and I, what we do out in finishing, if we get a pig in the system that we're raising and the cost of that pig is already too high, it doesn't matter how good a job. I mean, yes, we could add to the liability of that pig, but if we're already behind the 8 ball because that pig costs too much to produce, it doesn't matter what you do in finishing. You're going to be upside down in a market that is, poor. I mean, if you get in a situation where hogs are crazy price, you can probably still make money. But if you're in a situation which in the hog industry, most of the time you have to be super competitive. So if you've already set yourself up for failure, no matter what you do on finishing ain't going to help. Right. So that's where farrowing rate really matters. In my mind, is king.
And it matters. I mean, when we look at the actual flow from breed to farrow to wean, you've got that first few weeks around conception rate, where I can know, based on whoever's breeding, are they doing a good job? How can we maximize our farrowing rate by ensuring a good conception rate? Well, then it's within my farrowing rate, when are sows falling out? Because we want them to fall out as soon as possible. We want to identify them right away.
As quick as we can.
As quick as we can. And so if they're all falling out toward the end, that's a real problem.
That's
we need to know
really
when they're
bad.
falling out. And then when we get them into the farrowing house, stillborn rate and pre-wean mortality are your next big numbers, because that's going to impact that wean total. So if you know your farrowing rate, and you know your stillborns or your pre-wean or your survivability, farrowing rate and survivability, you can have a pretty good idea of what is my pigs out the door per sow bred. And as long as that's consistent and predictable, you can flow a farm fairly well and make it easy for your finishing guys. Which you talked about numbers. Man, the relationship between a sow farm and a finisher when it comes to sharing pigs back and forth, there's never agreement there, is there?
Nope, there never is. There never is at all.
So you got two major companies. You got Pigflow and you got Swine Tech. Am I correct saying that?
So Swine Tech has two products in Pigflow and Swine Tech.
Okay, so it's all in one kind of deal.
Pigflow and SmartGuard, yes.
It's all kind of in one deal. Gotcha. So it's one company. And then you got the Popular Pig podcast too.
Yep.
So do you feel like you enjoy entrepreneurship more than when you were working? Do you enjoy this journey? Do you feel like you're enjoying what you're doing? You feel like you're in a good path of what you kind of wanted to do with your life? Do you like entrepreneurship? Do you enjoy it?
Yes, I enjoy it. I think the reason why I enjoy it so much is because when I was in the sow farm, I loved training new people. Mm-hmm. I loved seeing that first sign of, wow, this is my passion. Mm-hmm. It was really cool, especially when you have an industry where labor is so tough to find. Finding individuals that you see, wow, this could be the lifelong journey for them. That was really cool. But you're confined to working with 5 to 20 people.
Right.
And so to be able to do this and be able to work with teams all across the world, with thousands of different people, that's what I love. I love how I am in no way constrained to the amount of people I need to staff on a farm. I'm constrained by the industry as a whole, which means there's an endless opportunity to grow and an endless opportunity to meet new people. And I think that's what I like about it.
You like abundance. You like not having a cap on how far you can go.
Yes, I do not like a cap.
I love that too.
Oh, you're speaking Sawyer's language.
That's
now.
my whole thing. I mean, I feel like we pretty much nailed the swine. So I kind of want to just get your take on entrepreneurship because it's one of those things that's overhyped nowadays. I think a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't know what it takes, and you don't know if you were born one or not. Some people say you can be made one, you can choose to be one, and then some people say you're just born one. You just know that you're an entrepreneur. But I think you can choose to be one. And sometimes I think you got to discover that that's in you because you don't know unless you take that jump. Because you would have never known if you said, we're going to jump and take this opportunity and drop out of school for a semester. You would have never known that this is something that you might want to do long term and be an entrepreneur long term,
Absolutely. We were kind of talking with another group the other day, and man, all the things that got me in trouble as a kid.
I like where this is headed.
All of them ended up being the raw forms of what make an entrepreneur really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, I would get in trouble a lot in school. I was never the bad kid.
Right.
But I was the kid always in trouble.
Yep.
And it was because I was always pushing the envelope at everything.
Yep.
And when you get into the real world, most people have that coached out of them.
Yep. 100%.
Conform. Follow the rules.
Sit down, shut up, take the test.
And I was never like that. And I wouldn't say that I ever thought I was an entrepreneur. I had no idea. I don't think our high school did a great job talking about entrepreneurship. Yep. But once I was in it, I knew.
You knew.
I knew this was exactly how I was supposed to be doing.
That's exactly how I was. Because when you say push the envelope, do you mean like see how far you can push teachers? I mean like see how far you can get away with stuff?
Teachers, people,
That's exactly how I
parents,
was.
family,
exactly
friends, video games. It was everything is where is the loophole?
Yeah, how far can I go with this?
Yes, and then when you get burned,
you just are like, all right,
back off
a little bit.
You try to talk your way out of it.
Yeah,
but you get burned and you learn from it, and being able to test that. My school bus driver, he probably wasn't a fan of mine.
Yep.
I remember leaving the bus and they said he'd call me to the front of the bus for the next 2 years when somebody was doing something wrong. He'd be like, Matt, come to the front of the bus.
Yep.
I wasn't even on the bus.
Yeah.
I was just I was the loud kid always doing something that you probably shouldn't have been, but it was always, when you look back, it was always in the effort of understanding what is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Your mother, you would be even further ahead because both me and my wife grew up riding a school bus.
Yeah.
So we knew what the cultural effects of riding on a school bus was. And when we had our kids, my wife was like, I'm going to take the kids to school. I'm not letting them ride the school bus because of everything that she learned on the school bus. And I'm like, man, Sawyer, he would be he would be even further
Hey, I
ahead.
rode the bus a couple times.
Yeah, you did a few times.
Because you got to go to your friend's house or whatever.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, I had some good friends that taught me the ropes that rode the bus. They rode. It doesn't matter if you ride the bus as long as you're friend with bus kids.
Oh, I spent 2 hours on the bus every day if my parents didn't drive me to school, and yeah, I learned Santa Claus wasn't real on the school bus.
Yep. That's probably the most PG thing that you did learn.
Oh, that is by far the most PG thing. I mean, there was always this guy and this girl in junior high. I would sit in the back of the bus, and he'd rub her leg, and they'd be talking and kissing. And so I'd sit next to her on the bus, and he'd pay me $5 to move, and I'd made a business out of it.
There you go.
That was your first shot at entrepreneurship.
Other than taking all the little bags of chips from the house and selling them on the bus, that was it. And my parents were very supportive. They found out, and they said, "You need to stop doing this, but we're proud of you learning how to make money from something that's there."
We should do a whole show just of young kid stories of making money. What was your first entrepreneurial deal? Because it is amazing.
What it's so funny is when you're a kid, you don't even realize.
No, you're just drawn to it.
You're just drawn to it.
Yeah.
And you don't, like, it's just like you said. It's like you didn't know until late in life that, okay, this is, I was meant to do this.
Yeah.
I was meant to do
my
this.
co-founder, Abraham, he's got way better stories than me. Like, I could say I learned the importance of placement of a business. So I tried doing a lemonade stand on a gravel road.
Oh, yeah, tough.
Yeah, it don't work.
Tough sledding. Get dust.
My dad always cleaned it up, too. Like, I had it too good. But
lemonade's a little crusty.
he was in first grade.
As a layer of just
the mailman who gave me $5 instead of $1. He was great. But my co-founder, Abraham, he would actually redraw Pokemon cards. And he created a marketplace of it at the school.
Yep.
Couple quarters in at a parent-teachers conference, they were asking final questions, and a teacher stood up and said, "Yeah, like, there's a kid here who's taking all my kid's school, like, lunch money because he's selling these crappy Pokemon cards."
Yep.
And, of course, his mom was in the back kind of squirched down, like, oh, no.
She knew.
She knew. And then he follows that up after being not allowed to do that with selling these uniquely glowy-looking ladybugs. And so he got everyone in his class to have a little container with a ladybug, which he sold for X amount of money that he would go use to buy candy.
Yep.
And it was just super creative. It's not just the idea, but it's creating the following.
Yeah, I feel like I would have got more into entrepreneurship if I wasn't so... I love sports. That was my thing when I was in high school. You know, I just loved sports, and that was like my end-all, be-all when you're in that. But, you know, once you get out of that, and I think I did some entrepreneurial stuff when I was little. Like, I remember doing lemonade stands in town and stuff like that, but sports really drawed me in. And then once I got out, just like you said, there's something about it. You just know that this is what you're supposed to do. And I always did like to push the envelope. I will admit, I did like to do that on a lot of the ways. But
Midwest makes it hard because we don't have to get that scrappy.
Yeah.
I saw my grandfather who, on my dad's side, who ran a family farm. And in the 80s and the 90s, when you start to hear stories of what it meant to work 2-3 jobs as you're raising your sows, eye-opening, but you didn't know that as a kid. My grandfather ran a residential real estate business that he started. He was a history teacher. Yep. It took 20 years before he could step away from that to run his business full-time.
Yep.
So entrepreneurship was in the family, but it's not like I knew it was there until you're old enough to say,
yeah,
oh, that's where all of these lessons came from.
Yeah. Well, you're the first generation that knew that it was entrepreneurship. Yeah. The rest of them, it was just survival.
My grandpa will still say on the real estate, he's like, I do an interview for school. So I need to interview an entrepreneur. And he said, I'm not an entrepreneur.
Right.
I'm a traditional business owner.
Yep.
I didn't change a business model. I didn't create a new product. Yep. I'm not an entrepreneur. And I'm like, wow, those lines are getting blurred today.
They are. For 100%.
Totally
100%.
Are.
Yeah.
Totally are.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like, because Dad and I feel this every day is new. It's something new all the time, and always stuff comes up. Time management. You're doing the Popular Pig podcast,
yeah,
and you're doing Swine Tech. Is time management one of the hardest things you got to do? Like, with everything you got going on, is time management one of those hard things? And you have any tips for time management?
So, time management's very hard.
Yep.
I think with time management, you can get in your own way more than other people. Like in a day 100%. Where I have 10 meetings booked, I'm at a point now where I'm selective in meetings. But when I have 10 booked, great. It's when you have 3 booked and you have the rest of your day.
Yep.
and you're pseudo-productive. And I call it pseudo-productive because I could have something really great. Let's say a producer called and said, I want you to install this in all my barns. I might not do anything the rest of the day because to me, wow, I had a big win today.
Yep.
Well, how do I get myself to not just accept a win as my day was a win, but let's keep winning throughout the day? Because sometimes you can let yourself kind of get away with that.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you get so
I
excited.
feel that.
Well, I don't feel like you're as much this way as me, but I am 100% my father's child in the fact that, like, I can only go so long doing. So we had a meeting, we had a Zoom call yesterday morning, and I had a bunch of office stuff I had to do. I pretty much spent most of my day in my office, and we've got this today, and I will go stir crazy because if I'm not out physically doing something, I so much equate going out and doing
with productivity.
Even though the time, see, that's the biggest challenge that I have is we're at the point now where the time I spend in that office and the time that I spend in meetings with people and creating content and doing stuff, that's probably more valuable. But the way I was brought up, if I'm not out in the hog building doing something, or I'm out chopping stalks, or I'm out doing something like that, I don't feel productive.
No, we're in a generation now where the tables have turned. Your father and you grew up where if you outworked everyone,
Yep, you got ahead.
you got it.
Yep.
You can't do that anymore. You have to be smarter. You can not work as hard, but work way smarter and out succeed anybody.
Right.
And it's
all
crazy.
The tools are there.
Well, 'cause
All
the
tools
leverage-
I feel like there's a balance there, though, because I feel like we're lucky in the fact that we get to get up every day and do chores, physical labor, and we get to come home and do some of those meetings, do some editing, make some content. We get a little bit of both. And I'll chore, we'll do some other stuff with pigs, and I'll even need to go work out because I just feel like I feel that same way a little bit too, where I feel good working out physically. I like to be challenged mentally and physically because I feel like you need that. You need that. I get what you mean when you need to be outside and doing something outside.
I don't feel challenged that I need to go work out.
You don't want to go run a 5K?
No, I feel like I just want to sit in my chair and
20 Bud Light curls.
No,
No,
I can't even do that. I'll just pour another glass. I'll just pour a glass. Why work so hard drinking, 6 cans of beer when you can just have this much whiskey?
You
it's
got
more
a
efficient.
beer hat.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't have one. Thank God. Well, so speaking of time management, we didn't even really touch on. So through all of this, so you had Swine Tech going. So what got you? What came to you that you were like, I need to start a podcast?
Oh, yeah.
How did that? How did that come?
Yeah, and I kind of alluding on the time management thing. It's kind of follow up what you guys are saying. It's also when are you productive in the day?
Yeah.
I'm not great in the morning. So if I can have meetings I can sit on where I can have more interpersonal kind of like this,
Yeah.
I'm productive and I'm good at what I'm doing. But if I have to sit in front of a computer at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning,
I feel that.
I might as well not be working.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm most productive at night, and which puts me in a bad thing because I like to be at work in the morning because I like to feel productive. So now I'm at work at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I am most productive at night. So now I'm going to bed at 12, 1 o'clock at night. And it's like, well, how can I self-manage my life in a way where I am getting my workout in, I'm getting some fun in. But with Popular Pig, we were kind of entering this pandemic. The thing that frustrates me the most about this industry, there's probably a few things, but one of them is that the people who do the work that truly matters in the farm have no clue everything else going on outside of it.
Out of their one little
their
job.
thing. And so it's for me, I'm helping this sow farrow and I got good at it. Well, what's next?
Yep.
Well, no. This guy's traveling back and forth overseas. This guy's doing this. There's genetic progress. It's like this is an industry. How can we help them feel more included?
Yep.
Because they just need to know. And so for me, I was meeting with all of these very reputable individuals. It was how can I share their stories?
Yep.
How can I help get the information or the stories that are happening at the high level that most don't get to see to the ground level? Because nowhere in my life did I see sow production or pig production being nearly as fascinating as it is.
Right. 100%.
Until I actually had to travel.
Yeah, well, that's great. When did you start that?
So we would have started that. There was definitely a week and a half of me sitting in a chair after COVID.
Yeah.
Where everyone says with a good crisis, there's a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was sitting there like, what the hell is my opportunity?
Yep.
And I couldn't freaking find it. And I just started talking to people. And we found Pig Flow. We found Popular Pig. They're both rooted in one core problem, and that was people.
Yep.
Is how do we help people become more involved, more efficient, less stressed, more a part of the solution? And that's where they both kind of came together. People were more accessible than ever before. Zoom was now normal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, let's do that. And it's turned into a really fun thing for me, time management wise, is the ambitious side of me would love to make Popular Pig Swine it, right?
Yeah.
Like those guys do a great job.
Yeah, they do.
Right.
They do a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I can do an episode, the preparation, the recording, and the posting within an hour and a half a week of my time.
Yep.
I've got other things I need to do.
Yep.
There's not another Swine it that's needed out there. They're doing a great job. Let's be unique. Let's do something different. You guys do a great job. We try to share stories. They're educational.
Yep.
Let's play the role. Let's be efficient in it, and let's make sure we're not overlapping so much that we're not making progress as an industry. And that's kind of what fueled our strategy, and that's why we interviewed you guys. We're interviewing Marcio. We interviewed Casey Bradley and Jim Eady. It's how do we all work together to be better?
I think Jim's
that.
time management strategy is just not to sleep. Because I don't know how
He's always up.
Yeah, because he'll message me on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter whether it's 5 a.m. or it's midnight. I'm like, I'm pretty much convinced he doesn't sleep because either that or the
Does he have
ideas
a new-
just wake him up.
Oh,
like he
he's
just
just-
gets an idea and it's like,
He's just scheduling it out. He's like, I'm gonna send this at 3, schedule it out for 2 a.m. and let's make people think I'm working.
well, people used to speculate that Joe Connors did that because
really?
Joe would reply to your email like at 3:00 in the morning. And
Oh, I'd
people are like,
believe it though with Joe.
well, and that's true. If you know him at all, you'd be like, maybe that's right. But some people thought he just did it to mess with
Probably
you.
woke up, had to take a leak, and was like, I'm gonna check my emails. And
Yeah.
then start sending out emails and go back to bed. And
I think he just did it so people felt like, gosh, dang, is he ever asleep? Guys, he's working at 4 a.m. Gosh, dang, I got to get up earlier.
we do live in a time where you can schedule things out to make people believe you don't sleep.
Totally.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could have written that email and had it just ready to go at 3 a.m. to send.
Well, yeah, true.
Something like that.
Well, I totally agree with you because I think one of the things that on the production side, and I would say even on the south side, people get caught in whatever system they're in, and you're going to get taught the way to do it by whoever's running that system. And everybody in that system gets comfortable in the way that you're doing it. And one of the biggest benefits, I feel like, of what you're doing and what IT does, and even to some extent what we do on the production side is, I love the comments we get from people that grow for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because, when we do a walkthrough of how we start wean pigs or how we do this or how we do that, we always get all these comments because everybody does it different. And we need to do a better job of sharing that because as an industry, I feel like we can all get a lot better when you question why you're doing what you're doing. And way you're doing it, that may be the best way to do it.
Possible. It's
But it
just
may-
not ever quantified or measured, so
Right.
there's no way to effectively communicate it.
And the other thing is there's more than one way to do a lot of things.
I think every farm is a unique version of itself. And so this actually lends itself to a problem with some of the bigger systems is you want that streamline, that consistency,
Yeah.
the process compliance. We've talked to people that have stepped away from a larger role and they go to a smaller farm and they're like, oh my goodness, like there's just all this stuff I have to learn. Well,
Yeah.
it's because you're not following kind of a standard process. It's if the farm is turning to the left, how do you get it back center? If it's turning to the right, how do you get it back center? And I think that there's so many differences between all the different systems, and there isn't a right or wrong. It's just the way you need to do to run a successful business and offer a high quality of care. Well, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, and part of that's culture.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a whole, we could do a whole story about culture, but within an organization from the top to the bottom, if you set the standard and you set what is expected and people can get behind it.
It's all about people.
All of it.
People got to get behind the vision. They got to feel like they're heard. They got to feel a part of something.
I think that's the whole thing, is if they feel heard.
And I feel like in ag, the feel like you're a part of something is already there. Because you know you're a part of something. You're a part of feeding the world.
Ag is like the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
Man, you face
ultimate tie-in.
You face so many hurdles.
Yep.
So many hurdles.
Yep.
And yet you do great things.
Yep.
And it feels like when you're in the ag, it feels like you're a Hawkeye.
Yeah. America needs farmers, baby. That was the best damn thing they ever did. Ultimate tie-in.
Ricky Stanzi, if you don't love it, leave it, right? Yep. Yeah. If you don't love agriculture, then find somebody who does.
That's true.
That's right.
We need people with a strong heart for this industry.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? That's what I feel like in the ag, you got to make your people feel heard. Yes. Because the why and feeling a part of something's already there. Everyone knows that we're trying to feed the world. So that's there.
You know, a nugget that I'm stumbling upon is we're living in a world where a lot of individuals who have a farm are offloading it to somebody else to manage it.
Yep.
And those management companies do a great job of managing the farm. But I feel like there's a missed element of this transition, which is leading and causing a lot of problems. And that's the owner has been driving culture.
Yep.
And they step away. And when they're stepping away and hiring a management company, they're like,
all changes.
Hands off.
Yep.
Well, not only is the culture changing, when that management company comes in, they're like, we're managing. I don't think either one is having the conversation of, all right, you're managing now, you're stepping away, but who is the person working for? Yep. What is the purpose now? What is the culture? There's a bigger element of, are you doing the things right to flow a farm? Of, am I flowing the farm right for this farmer here who I know in my community? And that culture can exist with a bigger company. It happens all the time. Yep. But are the management companies going that extra step of saying, this is why you matter? Because it feels like a lot of the turnover.
That is huge.
Feels like a lot of the turnover is coming from individuals that in those companies are 26 to 29 years old. They are good at what they do. They have the skill sets, and now they're like, now what?
They don't feel valued.
Or they feel like they've hit their peak.
Yep.
Well, if you know your purpose and you feel as a part of the organization, well, your purpose is, well, now I'm helping this company as an expert figure out how to get to the next mile, but they don't feel that.
Yep.
And so it's how do we have more of a clear transition of culture from those situations? I think that would do a lot of good.
And that's only going to multiply.
Yeah, it's only going to multiply. And there's a huge opportunity there because you don't need technology. You don't need to hire somebody special. You just need to make sure you hit that step of the process.
Yeah. The value of an employee over time,
I think so
huge.
many people just overlook that too.
Yeah.
Especially with if we wanted to hire out chores one day sometime,
Yep.
we'd want to get a guy that
is going to stay.
And I'm okay. You know what? I don't give a shit. I'd buy the guy a brand new pickup if it meant that he was going to be staying here. If he does a good job, and I know he does a great job, and he needs a truck, and that would mean he just loves trucks, I'd get him a brand new pickup truck because I know that's important to him.
You touch on a great point because
you gotta because that matters. Good luck trying to find somebody that's going to replace him if he's good.
I feel like as an industry, and this isn't everywhere, but we get caught up so much on efficiencies and what's the bottom dollar. We're all trying to hire. We're all trying to buy everything as efficiently as we can. And when it comes to labor,
it's going to hit a point.
And I feel like if it gets greater the size of the operation, because at the size of the operation, you lose track of the individual. But like what you're saying, for us, if I can hire somebody that I can sleep at night and I know it's getting done, what's that worth to you?
Oh my goodness, you're hitting it. One of my biggest unpopular beliefs or frustrations is labor is such a huge element of our economy, of our industry. I have not met a producer who can give me an ROI on what it means to hire a person.
Yeah.
Yet we talk about we want a 3 to 4 ROI on anything that helps us reduce labor.
Yep.
Yet we don't know what we have. So I am working with a large producer. We're putting together calculators to figure that out. But it's high.
Yeah. It's huge.
The standard is $6 a pig space to take care of pigs for 24 or just any building. Dad and I have always talked about, and this won't happen for a long time, but everyone listening. It'll
happen sooner for me than it will for you.
Right. If we had a bigger grain farming operation that took more of our time, and this stuff took more of our time, and the pigs was just becoming too much, where we're like, okay, we got to probably hire somebody to do this, right? But paying him $6, I don't know if I'd pay him $6. I'd probably pay him $7.
You got to pay more.
Pay more, because the other thing is that we talked about on previous episodes is you want them to take care of that building just as good as you would, because that building is an asset to us.
Oh, yeah.
The pigs are an asset too. Though pigs matter, they're number one. The welfare of the pigs matter. But that building is number two.
If you want to put yourself through a really fun workshop, calculate based on a sow farm or a finishing farm. When you have somebody responsible for the farm, what amount of responsibility in dollars are they carrying on a per person basis?
We just talked. You lined that earlier. You got millions of dollars worth of liability out there.
A guy paid $30,000 is carrying like $1.5 million, $2 million. What other industry do we allow one person with
that
no
much
experience to carry that? It's insane.
It is. It's absolutely insane. I don't know. I think that's something that's going to come.
It's hard because guess what? The end product that the consumer eats, we're trying to make it cheap,
right?
So that people can afford it. Yeah. And then we got to pay these people that have that liability. We got to try to pay them cheap, because we know what the product's gonna at the end of the day.
We're the other white meat. Like talk about like
God. Okay.
Like,
Let's go into this. Let's go into this a little bit. Let's go into this.
Like we market ourselves to a cheaper protein.
God, that is the worst thing. I don't give a shit what anyone says. That is the worst thing the pork industry ever did. No one in the right mind. Smoker culture is a big thing. Grilling culture is a huge thing now. And you know what? No one gives a shit that it's
about
lean.
The price.
No one cares that pork's a lean protein. They want a pulled pork that's fatty, juicy, tasty, smoked, barbecue. Well, they're not smoking a pulled pork to go in their food prep containers for the week. Yeah. They're smoking a pulled pork because they're having people over for the frickin' Super Bowl party.
Well, people already think that pig's unhealthy.
Yes. And it's not.
They already think that the organic version is healthier. And so I meet with people and I'm like, if you bought organic bacon versus regular bacon, it's probably worse for you. It's going to taste a lot better. Yeah. You got a lot more fat in there. Yeah. But
that's it.
We don't understand.
It's the breed that matters. It's the breed of the pig that matters the most. It's not the conditions. It's not that these barns, it's not that these pigs are in these barns. That doesn't matter. It's that the pigs that are in these barns are lean.
They're lean.
They're too lean.
They're too lean because we for a while as the pork industry we try to be the next lean meat.
That was the dumbest.
Healthy though. I mean, pork loin's as healthy as a chicken breast.
It is healthy. I won't lie. I do switch it up. I mean, I eat chicken a lot, but I also eat some pork loin occasionally for some lean protein. But
the great denominator in the whole thing is back. I remember when the money maker from pork was pork loin. Today, it is the least profitable product by far. What's the most profitable? Pork butt and bacon. That's it.
Because why?
Because that's where the flavor's at.
Tasty.
And all of this crap about consumers are budget, whatever.
Not when it comes to pork.
They will buy what tastes good.
Yeah.
Look at the beef market. Okay, the beef market hasn't grown that much, but it hasn't shrunk either. And people
eat a steak.
If they're going to pay the money, they're going to pay the money. Well, it's two worlds. It's ground beef and it's steak, and there's not much in between.
Yeah.
But that steak side, they don't care what it costs. If they have a steak, if they're going to have a steak, they're going to have a steak. They don't care.
Well, let's look at the obesity rate in the United States. All right, let's just look at that a second and say, how many people have self-control?
None.
Of going to the store and saying, I'm going to eat a healthy little chicken.
Yep.
Right.
No. If we had self-control, we wouldn't be one of the most obese countries.
Well, they will tell themselves. Then they'll take said chicken. They'll chop it up. They'll put it on a salad with egg, bacon, French, and ranch, and some cute croutons.
It won't go on a salad.
They'll be like, I'm eating healthy.
Guilty. Oh, no, it's breaded chicken.
Yes.
No, what I was about to say is, you know what you do? You put it in flour. You put it in breadcrumbs. You throw it in the air fryer.
And you hope that it tastes as good as Chick-fil-A, even though it won't.
Oh no,
He just won't.
Which now there's a debate. I mean, the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Nope.
Have you had
Nope.
that?
Nope.
It ain't good. I'm
It's
not
not.
even gonna.
It's
not even.
not.
I've heard if you take the Popeyes sandwich and you put it on the Chick-fil-A bun,
Here's a hack for you. Go ahead. Keep going.
I hear that's supposed to be the next level sandwich.
I'm no sellout.
Here's
I won't
here's
go.
what I
Chick-fil-A.
heard. Here's what I heard. You got to get your Chick-fil-A sandwich. You got to take that fried chicken out of the buns, put it back in the sealed package that you get or whatever, right? That you open up. Put your sauce in there, shake it up, and then put it back on the bun.
Oh wow.
Oh, so it's coated in Chick-fil-A sauce.
Coated in Chick-fil-A
That sounds
sauce
amazing.
or whatever sauce you want. But I heard that's the life hack.
Well,
Yeah.
Man, that's like doing the McChicken McDouble thing,
Yeah.
man. That's next level.
Chick-fil-A. Where's the pork fillet? Where are we getting?
I don't know.
when's-
That's a damn.
I want my pork burger.
I know.
Come on.
So I was
I know.
talking with a meat scientist on a podcast, Dr. Chase Stahl with Hypor.
Yeah.
And he was saying that one of the biggest issues is the coloring. Is you can have a pork burger that's pink and a pork burger that's white. They're both perfectly done, but it's really hard to create consistency in the color. And so fast food doesn't want to touch it. Because fast food is just that, we're going to have complaints about color and it's not done when it's completely done. And you go. I mean, I was at the World Pork Expo and I bit into a pork burger. It was as pink as you can believe. General consumer is going to think they can't eat that. And that's the biggest reason, apparently, that pork burgers haven't made it. It's
They
just
got
the
to
color.
be thin. Buds, shout out to Buds.
Riverside,
Iowa. They
good?
make the best pork burgers.
Oh, you're gonna get some hate on that.
I don't
'cause
give a
There's
shit.
a lot of people that love their Kyoto pork burgers.
Okay, I don't care. No. Where are they at? 'Cause
Kyoto.
Do they go to the
Well, we
county
don't go
fair?
that way.
County fair?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not even close.
Not the same.
Buds are way better. Buds
Yeah.
are way better. I can eat them all day, every day of the summer. I can throw them on the grill, and they're just as good. They got to be thin, and I feel like they come out pretty. The
Yeah.
color's pretty consistent with.
Well,
those.
that's because they've got enough barbecue seasoning.
problem
in them.
with that
they're kind of
is-
orange.
I feel
Perfectly
like,
healthy.
I feel like for a pork burger, you'd have to make it a smash burger almost a little bit because they're thin. If you want that color, you'd have to have
Like a
them
Culver's?
thin. Yeah,
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like you can get a quarter
That'd
pounder,
work.
something like that. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I'm totally on your idea of we need to get. Well, I don't know if you said this, but my belief is we need to get away from trying to be the second lean meat, and we need to come back to
Flavor.
what makes pork great.
Yep.
We need to make the breeds. We got to make them fatter. We got to get the fatter sows. We got to breed for fat and that fat content
marbling.
and taste, marbling. That matters. And guess what? When that happens, because it's gonna happen, and I can't wait when it happens because everyone always comes at us when we're doing our TDF stuff that it affects the taste. Oh, those barn raised pigs. The taste is just different. It's taste because they sit in those barns all day.
They're bored.
They're bored.
Bored
The
pork
taste,
tastes
it's
worse.
the grass and the walnuts and the dirt that they eat that makes the flavor. No. When we switch the breed over, and it's going to happen in my lifetime, it will happen. When we switch the breed over, we have a fatter, juicier pig as an end result, and it tastes the same. Then we'll see.
Any of you non-believers, you go to an expensive restaurant, you order the
Yeah.
Berkshire or the Duroc chop.
Yep.
Know it's probably raised indoors,
Yeah.
and taste that sucker.
Yeah.
It's damn good.
I had an investor reach out to me. He had ordered a pig. It was actually from the Jewel family that they got it from. And it was a Berkshire Duroc Manganitza mix. Manganitza is notorious for its woolly
Yep.
outside coating. It looks like a sheep.
Yep.
And it's like 80% fat or something like. It's crazy.
Yep.
Well, they crossbred it to kind of marble it. Yeah, it's marbled beautifully. He's like, this might be the best pork chop. He's like, the flavor's pretty consistent, but the juiciness
Is unbelievable.
is unbelievable.
That's what we got to get back to.
We need to
it's-
get there.
When you taught, I remember it was like a couple months ago, not a couple months ago, a few months ago, you go listen to a podcast with a swine nutritionist on there. And he talked about that it's the breed that makes the biggest difference out of everything.
Yeah, the feed is not the. You can give a York landrace pig
Walnuts,
all the walnuts you want,
acorns.
and that meat's not going to be marbled, and it's not going to be.
Pigs are not bourbon. We got bourbon
Yes.
here. They're not bourbon. Why is Kentucky and Iowa a great place for bourbon? Why does it age twice as well as Scotch? Well, we got the seasonality. The compression and the release of the barrels helps bring in that flavor.
Yep.
Having a pig outside freezing its butt off or sweating it, or it won't sweat, but being overheated or freezing its butt off, it doesn't affect the flavor. So why don't we have it indoors at 70 degrees?
Yep. Right.
Control the environment, provide better welfare, get a better pig.
God,
This has been a good one. This has been a good one.
been a good one.
We're running.
We're running a little bit.
We're running plenty far.
We gotta go. We gotta do a little bit though. Just let's shoot off a 5-minute little tangent. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin, metaverse, winners or losers? What are your thoughts on these things? Do you have any opinions on them? What do you think?
I do. I had a bunch of friends who got in it in 2017, and I didn't believe them. Frustrating. I'm in crypto. I hopped out and I went into Cardano.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you're as pissed off as I
I'm
am
as
then.
pissed off because when you look at all the trends of crypto,
Yep.
Cardano was due.
Yep.
They
They are.
were due. They ran that stretch. They were about $1.90.
Yep.
Oh,
And then they just couldn't.
awful. And I told my dad to invest. He got in around May. He's up, and I said, put $1,000 to $5,000 in crypto.
Yep.
And don't touch it till you retire.
Yep.
And you're likely going to have something of meaningful value that you're going to appreciate because this crypto thing's here.
Yeah, it is.
It's here to stay.
It is here to stay.
It is here to stay. And this NFT thing, I haven't got involved in it because
You gotta listen to our last podcast.
I need to.
You will. You will. It's a little deep.
I
but
have buddies that have made hundreds of thousands of dollars on NFTs,
trading them.
trading them.
I
Flipping
can't.
them.
And
I can't get. I don't.
it's too hard for me.
It is. Well, there's not enough
there's no
hours in a
Iowa.
day.
It's like it's just like when Web 2.0 came out or Web 1.0, the domain thing. Everyone trying to figure out what domains we're gonna, win and what weren't.
Yeah.
It's hard with the NFTs. It's like you don't know who's gonna win, what NFT is gonna hit with people and what's not. But I did see Pepsi's coming out with them NFTs now. Tom Brady's coming out with his own NFT collection now. It's getting mainstream.
We should do a pork NFT. The pork board should do a pork NFT.
What I think-
where you get free acceptance into any pork board event.
yeah.
What
You
I
should.
think,
NFT?
what
You're
I
in.
think should happen, grocery stores need to take massive advantage of NFTs.
Yes.
Coupons. If I'm Costco, I'm making a whole division on NFTs. How can we make NFTs for Costco? Free, rotisserie
Upgrades.
chickens, free pot pie for all, because the thing with NFTs, for them to work, I feel like you need to have something attached to it.
Yeah, it has to have some exclusive value.
Right. So attach a free pot pie for the whole seasonal fall chicken pot pie. You can get the whole thing
One a
for
month,
free.
one
a
every
month.
2 weeks,
Right.
whatever.
You got to have something, and grocery stores could take massive advantage of that.
You know what would be another great one? Again, we have it as a theme today. What if you could buy a Buffalo Trace NFT?
Oh,
And what if you, because you owned your NFT, had exclusive rights to get in some of the most hard to find bottles?
yeah. No, because that's what Gary
that's
V.
good.
That's Gary's thing. That's what he did. He
They'd
sold
be smart if
experiences.
they did that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because it is in the. I mean,
It's
gonna
just not
be,
enough mainstream.
but it's going.
Like the masses are not on NFT yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When everyone starts to be like, okay, I'm looking at what's the main platform to buy NFTs? OpenSea, I think it's what it's called.
Yeah.
OpenSea. Like when everyone's like perusing that and like looking for NFTs to buy and it becomes real mainstream, then that kind of stuff will work because you need more and more people to get interested into it. Right now, I feel like we're just in this early stage of, it's so early. Like you said, Cardano is like, right now it's not doing very well, but
Still
it's
early.
still early.
It's gonna do well.
I think
because
so.
It has done. They have done such a good job working the emerging markets. The amount of time they've spent in Africa, and Africa is the youngest. It's the youngest population, I think, anywhere, because obviously it's hard to live a long time in Africa because they've got a lot of shitty leaders down there. But you look at like Nigeria, the adoption rate of crypto there is second to
It was
El
like what we
Salvador.
said.
Yeah.
Like we said, these third world countries, they're looking at this like, this is our opportunity to change.
Well, it's like we said, it's the difference between here you look at crypto as a hobby or like an opportunity. A lot of these emerging markets, it's the difference between feeding your family and not, because your currency is so
trash,
upside down.
Which is going to be crazy to see how well. I mean, the crypto and the NFT markets could be what gets Africa on its feet.
I believe that.
El Salvador,
because they're so bought in.
Oh yeah, El Salvador. It seems like it's working pretty well there. They're on the Bitcoin standard, and
Max Kaiser's going to go. He's moving there. He's getting citizenship.
is he really?
Yeah. Huh. He was on Pomp the other day, and he said he made some comment about, because there's a lot of countries in the Caribbean that if you make a big enough cash donation to their treasury, they'll fast track you to dual citizenship.
Oh, okay.
And he was talking about that El Salvador should just do that if you make an investment in Bitcoin. Anyway, the president of El Salvador called him and said, "Hey,
Make an investment.
Oh, wow.
We'll have you up by the end of the year." So anyway, him and what's her name? He said he's going because he thinks it's the largest opportunity of his lifetime.
Well, what is it with these NFTs? I think one person really, I can't remember his name. It's in the upper echelon of people like Elon Musk, who we look at and we really listen to. He said that, I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he said that what you have in your NFT wallet will be a better depictor of you as a
Social
person
media.
than your social media posts.
It's just going to be exactly like, you got to listen to the last podcast. Our last podcast went deep into that. Yeah, Gary V
Got a
is
little crazy.
Gary V is that guy. I don't care what you say. Anyone listening to him, he is repetitive in what his content is about. But if anytime there's something new coming out in the world, that guy is on it. When it comes to marketing and new opportunities, that guy's insight on stuff is smart. He predicted social media was going to be the way it is now. That's why he was an early adopter of YouTube. That's why he was an early adopter of
Facebook.
Having a website before anyone else, selling wine direct to consumer before anyone else. He knows trends. He came out with his own NFT collection, and he sells access to himself attached to every single NFT that he sold. So everybody, no matter what NFT you bought, gets a 3-year ticket to his V conference he's going to be putting on. And then also some of them are like, one of them's like, go to a Jets game with Gary V. Go to a Knicks game with Gary V. Have a 1-year mentorship with Gary V. All these access things. And I think artists, athletes, influencers, business people are going to take huge advantage of it and sell access to them.
Even charities.
Oh, yeah.
That bourbon club you were saying, that's genius. I mean, they're grocery stores. I mean, it's going to get big. It's just how fast till we get there.
So question for you guys, because I know you guys like to talk Tesla. You like Elon. I think you had a shirt that said Elon or something. What was it?
Don't bet against Elon.
Don't bet against Elon. If Elon acquired John Deere today, would the stock rise 10x?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because its shareholder base is so not informed as to what Elon is.
They just hear
they
Tesla.
Would panic.
They just hear Tesla and EV.
Okay. I see. I would imagine that like general consumers would be like, he's taking them to Mars. Yeah, John Deere's going to.
I feel like outside people out of ag, out of the shareholders would be hyped.
I could be wrong in the fact. Here's what I think would happen. I think you would have massive selling because people that don't understand anything about what he is, they would rotate out. And then the Tesla faithful would be like, we're buying it because exactly what you're saying. Oh my gosh, they're going to, I agree.
How long before the SEC bans Elon Musk from social media?
Oh, man.
He'll one-up him because this is what he will do. People speculate that he's going back to the chairman's role because his 3-year thing is up. I think he will completely get out of management. I think he will just step away.
You think the Volkswagen guy is going to take over?
Well, I did, but they didn't fire him. So I did. I had a hunch that the guy that runs Volkswagen Group, I can't remember what his name is now off the top of my head, they cut him back as far as they took a bunch of his responsibilities away. And I really thought they were going to fire him because he basically just said, Tesla can make a car in a third of the time that we can. And if you don't get our crap together, we're going to be bankrupt. And everybody hated it. The unions hated it. The ownership hated it. They all got pissed at him. And I thought they would end up firing him. And if they did, my theory was that he would go to Tesla and Elon would just step away and concentrate on R&D. But so my answer is I don't think that the SEC will do that, because if they do, he'll just say, "All right, I'm out. I'm just an employee."
Yeah, he's just, anytime he posts anything, the markets respond so much. Like, he has such a strong control over markets.
And he plays it like a fiddle.
Oh, he does.
And the thing is, what's so impressive...
That tax thing was genius.
Yeah, because he had to sell it anyway.
He was planning on selling these shares of Tesla for tax purposes.
Well, he had to.
He had to. But he went on Twitter and said, what did he say? He
about feeding the world or something?
Yes. And he made it sound like, hey, I'm doing this for...
He just said, should I sell these shares
Oh,
or shouldn't?
yeah, right. He had a poll on Twitter.
He had a vote.
He had a poll on Twitter. Should I just sell these shares?
And he had to. He knew he was going to.
But
Genius.
think about the money that General Motors spends on advertising in a year. Tesla doesn't even have they don't even have an ad company.
They
don't need one. They don't need one. And the thing, it's amazing to me because people play right into it in the fact that it doesn't matter if the news is good or bad, as long as they report it. And on any given day on financial outlets, Tesla's out there every day. And sometimes it's bad. The SEC is looking into them because solar's caught on fire in Walmart 3 years ago, and some guy that they fired claimed that they fired him over that, and now it's finally going to court, and so they're making a big deal about it. Well, it doesn't matter because every day they're in the forefront. But I'll tell you what. So I just had a conversation with a financial guy, and he asked me about Tesla, what I thought about it or whatever. And I just told him, I said, and I could be totally wrong. I realize I'm like you in the fact that there's some things that I know I'm blind because I'm so biased, because I've bought in, I've spent the time and I'm bought in and I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. And, he said, what's Tesla going to be worth in 3 years? And I said, it'll be worth 3 times what it's worth today. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I don't think that's right. Well, I might be wrong. But there's so many things that they're doing that is so far ahead of everybody else. And the thing is, by the time the rest of the competition gets to where they are today, they'll be 3 times ahead of them again. Yeah. And their culture is totally different than Legacy Auto.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything they do is different, and we can't keep doing, in any industry, we can't keep doing things the way we're doing it today. Just what we've talked about today.
Yes.
And they're in the midst of that.
They're light years away.
It's a juggernaut.
They're light years ahead of everybody. And we talked about this on our last podcast, but we'd post clips about us talking about Tesla on TikTok, and everyone would categorize us as, liberals, hardcore liberals, EVs, and they talk to us about tree huggers, just hardcore. And
obviously
we're hog farmers.
Yeah.
We're mostly conservative. We have one opinion about Tesla and how we like it, and you categorize us as that.
Just be like, we had self-driving tractors before these things were running around. Like, we know this more than you.
Right. And our whole thing is, we're not so
beholden.
We're not beholden to, our thing with Tesla is it's not like we love Tesla because they're going to save the environment.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's not our big thing. We love Tesla because, one, it's cool. It's cool. We love it. My girlfriend actually has a Tesla. It's amazing. It's
oh my
sweet.
goodness, they're so fast.
They're so fast. They're fun to drive. They're fun to ride in. And 2, we think they're going to be more as disruptive as Amazon, Apple, if not more than those companies. We think they can be huge. And that's why we love them. That's why we're a fan of them.
They got the phone coming out now with the satellite.
You got to listen to our podcast.
Goodness.
Last week, we went in depth on all that stuff.
With Starlink and everything.
Yes.
I know there's a producer out here in Washington area who got Starlink. And
we have Starlink.
Yeah. I hear it's amazing.
It is. It's great.
Amazing.
And it just gets better.
Before it got overloaded with too many people to actually be any good.
Yeah, it gets better. Every batch they launch gets better. And then version 2 is going to be laser. The the transfer of data from satellite to satellite. Today, it's radio wave. The next generation that's coming that they're looking to launch, it's laser. So it's much faster.
Yeah.
And so it's exponential growth as far as, exponential quality, growth. And no, well, I don't even like Tesla because of that. I like Tesla because I'm greedy. I mean, I'll make no bones about it. I'm not trying to take the moral high ground with Tesla. My whole motivation of buying Tesla was because I looked at it and I said, this company is going to be worth a shitload of money and the stock price is going to be way higher, and that's why I bought it.
And I think we could be among the first to recognize all of the carbon costs that go into even making a Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, we're not in this for the environment because there's not a really great case.
No, and people will beat you up about that. But here's the thing. We know how bad the carbon footprint is of legacy auto we know what it is. So the carbon footprint of the battery world and EVs, it's not great. But the opportunity to make it much better
is there.
The opportunity to make
We've gone down this road for a long time.
We can't make it any better than what we can.
What we can do is go to China and say, hey, you guys need to stop, dumping everything you can into the ocean and, probably stop burning
coal.
so much. Yeah, burning coal. America is doing probably its absolute freaking best to make the environment as, we as Americans,
we're ahead of everybody else.
We're ahead of everyone.
Well,
but if we're one of 7 continents, we're one of, we're doing this. And North America's the one continent that's doing this, and all the rest of them aren't.
Well,
how are we going to save the planet? If no one else is going to get on the program, how are we going to save it? How are we going to do it?
Let's look at Europe. Here we go.
Yeah.
There was this great talk at NPIC with Jack Bobo, who wrote a great food, Why Smart People Make Bad Food Choices. And he was talking about local sustainability versus global sustainability. And he's like, Europe offloads all of its carbon footprint to Brazil.
Yep.
And what are we losing? The rainforest.
Yep.
And so here Europe says, we don't use any of this stuff. Yep. Well, yeah, because you're using all of theirs, and theirs is some of the most important in the world. And so what does it mean to actually hold people accountable for their local and global footprint and not just say, wow, your town is really sustainable. You only use bikes. Oh, but you do this.
Yep.
It's a whole picture. It's the whole package.
You can skew it however you want. We're over. We're over because if we keep going, I'm not going to be able to load this onto my desktop, and then I'm going to be really pissed. So, Matt, it was a true pleasure to have you, and a great conversation. Come back anytime.
Anytime for sure. Where can they find you? Where can they find you? All the stuff that you're doing. Shout out your social media. Shout out your website. We'll put everything. We'll have all of Matt's stuff down below in the link in the description and also in the show notes if you're listening. But, tell them where they can find you on social.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to hear great stories from pork producers or people in the industry, Popular Pig Podcast is a great place to go. SwineTechnologies.com is where you can find things about our products. And if you go to Swine Tech on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, you'll be able to see posts on them on a frequent basis. And we'd love to have everybody subscribe and keep in touch with what's going on because we like to share those stories with the industry, and it's exciting where we're all going.